What if your student never really memorized all of their math facts? Maybe you're switching over from a group schooling environment and now they're doing this self-teaching methodology like the Robinson curriculum, but there's issues there. There's a problem because they never really memorized all of their math facts. Therefore, they're going to have a lot of computational errors having to do with calculations with their math facts, a lot of careless errors. And if you add that to any sort of conceptual errors, they're going to have a really hard time. They're going to be really frustrated, and so are you with the whole process. So yes, it is important that they have all of their math facts memorized, but what I recommend, especially for a slightly older student, to stop everything altogether and just focus on memorizing math facts. Not necessarily, and I'm going to explain in this video, and I'm also going to go over the process of what I recommend, the daily structure, when I have one-on-one coaching calls with parents, because this is an issue that frequently comes up. So I'm going to share with you what I recommend, my little strategy here in this video. So let's get started. Hi there, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Karen and I like to help parents achieve sustainable and enjoyable homeschooling. And it's not very enjoyable when they don't have all their math facts memorized. So the way the Robinson curriculum works, what is recommended is that their first textbook be Saxon 54, which is typically a advanced fourth grade or fifth grade textbook. Up until then, they only really have to memorize their math facts. A lot of other math curriculums are filled with a lot of busy work. So in an effort to streamline things, make them easier for the parent, for the child, it's just to focus on memorizing math facts. So some kids, if they're starting with this from the very beginning, like I teach in my RC course for littles, it's fine. There's no issues. They work on that starting at age 5, 6, 7, maybe start Saxon 54 at age 8. That seems to work out really well, and then they continue. However, if you're switching over, like I mentioned earlier, and they didn't really have that foundation, they didn't memorize all their math facts, well, they're going to have a hard time. They're going to have, like I said, a lot of careless and computational errors. And the way that RC works is that they don't move on to the next lesson unless they have a low error rate. And it's very discouraging if they have a high error rate and they can't move forward, and it's mainly due just to careless and computational errors. So a great way that you can help them develop rightly earned self-confidence when it comes to schoolwork is to prepare them, help them get their math facts memorized. So what do you do if they're slightly older? Do you stop everything and just have them do math facts? I don't think that's the best idea because you can lose a lot of momentum, and not all kids would gladly stop everything to just do flashcards for maybe an hour a day. So instead, this is the process that I recommend to parents that works out really well. And that is, number one, have them take the Saxon Math Placement Test to see which textbook they should be in. Now, it's not mandatory that you use Saxon Math. It is recommended by RC for several reasons. It's easy for the kids to sort of read the lessons and be able to work the problems on their own. It's also a great curriculum that has the model of incremental development and continual review. Other programs that are maybe more focused on short-term mastery on something, and then at the very end there's a review of the whole chapter, and then kids already forgot. So that's why Robinson curriculum recommends Saxon Math. But of course, if you can find another comparable great math program that they can do independently, ultimately that is the goal, for them to be able to do math independently on their own. It is recommended that they read the lesson, do the problems, correct themselves, fix their mistakes. It's also helpful if they chart their errors and then moved on if they had a low error rate. So step one is to have them take the placement test for whatever math program you're choosing, whether it's Saxon Math or something else. Usually all curriculums have some sort of placement test. Don't get so caught up on, well, they're in fifth grade, they should have a fifth grade textbook. They might not be there yet, and it's okay. It's better to start at a place where they're confident and they can progress, rather than trying to push them ahead too fast just to be where they should be. Math is one of those subjects that builds upon itself. just like with phonics or reading. So if you're trying to have your kids read chapter books before they can even blend sounds, that's not going to work. Same thing with math. If you're having them do a really advanced grade level for them because that's where they should be, but really that's just not where they're at, you're going to have a hard time. It's not going to be very sustainable or enjoyable. Don't worry about being behind, because really there's no behind in homeschooling. They are progressing as fast as they can. Your job, your goal is to help them with the tools that they need and the environment that they need to progress at their own speed. And another great thing about the Robinson curriculum is that they recommend you do school year round, no taking summers off, and doing math 6 days a week. So if you follow those guidelines, any behind you think they might be, they can quickly catch up. And the reason why 6 days is because when you take 2 days off, it's really like you're taking 3 days off. So imagine if you're taking 2 days off or even 3 days off, the amount of time it takes for the brain to warm back up and pick up where they left off. Same thing with summer. It's very well known, the loss there, right? The gap. And that's why most textbooks, most curriculums have that sort of built-in gap review. The beginning of the book, several chapters or lessons are just basic review of the book prior. So if you can eliminate that by just going straight through, and they won't have that loss of information. So if it makes you a bit uncomfortable to place them back in an earlier book, keep in mind that they should be doing school 6 days a week and year round, and so they can easily catch up. Now let's jump into what the actual math portion of the homeschool day would look like. This is what I recommend. Number one is that they start off with a warm-up drill. Now the Saxon textbooks are great about this because in second edition and onward, it will tell you to give them test A or warm-up test B. So there's several, from addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. There's even percentages, fractions. So this is really great. It's going to help them get that practice. And there's something about a time pressure element that just really gets the information in their head. Now I realize that there are some kids that just really do not like timed tests. So if that's the case, I would give these two options. Either A, you complete as many problems as you can in the allotted time, and it's fun and you're trying to beat your score. Let's see how many you can get right. Or B, fine, no timed element, but you have to complete the entire page. And of course, either with both scenarios, you would correct the mistakes that you make. But with the second option, you have to fill out the entire page. And that's just a great way to sort of warm up, get ready for math, and they're getting some math fact practice. Then number two would be to do an actual lesson of math. Now, if it's really difficult for them still, you don't have to do a whole lesson. They don't have to do a whole lesson. You can go back to half a lesson or even 10 problems or 5 problems. Here's the thing. They can't move forward unless they have a low error rate, like maybe 3 max out of 30 problems, right? That's what I believe the RC course of study recommends. So let's say they're trying to do all 30 problems in one sitting and they're getting 5, 6, 7 wrong. Well, then they can't move forward and they have to redo the whole lesson the next day. That's going to be challenging. Versus if you just give them 10 problems a day or 15 problems a day and they only get 1 wrong, then they can move forward and they will actually progress a little quicker that way than just getting stuck in a lesson and redoing the same lesson over and over again. They can also start to memorize the problems and the answers because they're grading themselves. So I think it's better to just assign a set number of problems that you know that they can handle. And again, if they have a high error rate, even after you scale back, then cut it back even further until they really grasp the material and then move ahead. Now, up until this point, they have done their timed worksheet. They have completed a set number of problems. So now number 3 would be to actually work on math fact memorization. I think this is the best time to do it because sort of the hard part is over. They're thinking, okay, I did the time test. I did the math problems. Now they can relax a little bit, and it's a really great time for their mind to kind of be more receptive. The stress has gone down to go ahead and just work on math facts. Now there's a couple different ways that you can go about doing this. The RC course of study they recommend you just take chunks of the flashcards. You can print them when you purchase RC, or you can buy them pre-made from RC online as well. And so you just give them a chunk. They're all mixed up. All the operations are mixed up. And so they take a pile and they drill themselves. So they look at the card, 3 plus 2, and let's say they say 4. Oh, I got it wrong, right? They look at the answer, they put it in a wrong pile. Then 3 plus 3, they say 6 for that one. It goes in the right pile, and then on and on. At the end of the session, they will have 2 piles, right and wrong. So they put the right pile to the side. They will not do that again for the rest of the day. They'll do it again tomorrow. Now they just take the wrong pile and do it again. Look at it, right pile, wrong pile, etc. At the end again, they'll have 2 chunks. Put the right pile aside. Again, work on the wrong pile. And then once they see the same cards over and over again, obviously they're all going to end up eventually in a right pile. At that point, the math session is over. They have worked on memorizing math facts. Now, I understand that for some parents and some kids, it's just not happening. They're not enjoying that process. And so I have a couple of other recommendations. Now, I created for my family this math flashcard guide, and it's breaking the math facts up into math fact families. And so I have little chunks here. What I would do is write their initials on the top of the square once they completed them. However, there was a flaw to this system because just kind of like that mastery thing, once we got to the very end of the math facts, I realized when I tested them that they had forgotten some of the earlier ones. So I did adapt in order to avoid that, and I adopted sort of the Charlotte Mason Bible memory system. And so what I did, and I will leave a video down below in the description where I go more into depth about it, but I took these math fact families, I rubber band them, and I did, and I got a file folder and I labeled it daily, odd, even, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday also, and then 1 to 30. And so as they mastered each chunk, it would move back one spot in the folder. So for example, today, it's December 8th. They would do all of the math facts that are in the daily section, in the even section, in the Friday section, and in the number 8 spot. So that's several different chunks that they would review. So the daily one is the one they're trying to master. And then in those other folders are cards to review. So that helped them to not forget. Constant repetition is what is needed in order to get it from short-term to long-term memory. And if you're interested in this flashcard guide, I do have a digital version that you can purchase in the description below so you can have access to it today. So you can go that route if you don't want to do just the flashcards, all operations all mixed up together. Now, one more extremely helpful tool are the math wrap-ups. I have a video here on this channel, an interview with Nancy Larson, who wrote the Saxon textbooks for K1, 2, and 3. And her staff let me know that of all the research they had done, this was the best tool to help kids memorize their math facts. And I could see why, because out of all the things that I've tried, right, that I've used, I never got any resistance from my 6 kids, from any of them, to do math wrap-ups. I would always assign, even for review or for kids memorizing, still working on it, I would always say, hey, you're doing so-and-so number, or the whole key, or just a few. You're just doing the 7s, 8s, and 9s. And I never got any pushback. They all enjoy doing this, and they could do it independently on their own, because all they're doing is they're wrapping it up, right? And when they're done, they could just look on the back and they see these little grooves here if they wrapped it up correctly or incorrectly, and then they can do it again. So my recommendation is, if you don't want to just do all the flashcards all mixed up, I still do think there is a benefit to flashcards, so I would recommend my Math Fact Family Guide along with that file folder system, so they have continual review, and to finish the session off with learning wrap-ups. Now, if that sounds too much, then maybe just do the math wrap-ups or just do the flashcards. So that is what I would recommend for a daily math session for maybe a slightly older student who never mastered their math facts, is to start off with the warm-up drill, complete a set number of problems, and then work on math fact memorization whether that be with flashcards or maybe the math wrap-ups. Doing this consistently, the more days you could do it, the better. Ideally, 6 days a week, year round, they're going to pick up their math facts very quickly, and they will develop this genuine self-confidence of doing hard things on their own. I'm going to leave a lot of helpful links and video tutorials in the description down below if you'd like more information. And if you'd like to join me live for weekly live Q&As, I do host them every Friday in my membership site called The Schoolhouse, where you can also access all of my courses as long as you're a member, one of them being RC Course for Littles that takes the student from the very beginning, learning their ABCs, learning how to count, all the way to where the Robinson curriculum officially picks up, because it picks up with them starting Saxon 54, starting the RC book list, and writing their daily writing assignment. So if you're wondering what's the most direct route that's not very expensive, that is not a lot of busy work, then I think you would really like that RC Course for Littles. And again, I will leave all that information down below. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Now, I think you would really like this video, but YouTube's algorithm thinks you would like this video instead. So whichever one you choose, I will see you there. Bye for now.